there's an interesting thing about unsuppressing emotions, because just in the word and the term, that means that they've been suppressed. And when we're suppressing stuff, it's almost always connected to some sort of pattern that we find ourselves in. And if this pattern that we find ourselves in is connected to, an experience that was connected to a previous experience, and another one, that means there's a root at some point. And I like to see these as like waves. And each time it comes up, like here's where something happened, and then it don't experience it much anymore, and then we go along, and then up it happens again. But if each time that it's happening, we're kind of like, I can't deal with this now because of the environment, because of the situation, because of whatever, I'm just going to lock it down, right? I'm going to suppress it. And when we do that, we're storing away the emotion. So from this first time that this first experience happened, that we can kind of look back and see that it's happened over and over and over and over again in our lives, each time we're adding a little bit more to that. Now the bonus is, as we get older and we become wiser and we have more capacity, both mentally and emotionally and even physically, we can hold on to a lot more and a lot more and a lot more. But if we keep up with this pattern, then we end up exploding at some point, right? And it's usually not in a good way, because this little bit that gets then a little bit that gets then a little bit, we're not just adding a little bit from that day, we're adding a little bit to all those other times. So the pressure of it, sometimes it can be so surprising that one little thing can set you off, because it's not just one little thing. It's one little thing added to this pattern of other things. Now, the beautiful thing about it being a pattern is that when you do something in a moment, it affects the entire pattern back to the start. So even just taking a deep breath and doing the rule of 3, where you identify 3 objects, you smell, see, or taste 3 things, and then you do 3 different body movements, whether it's like, okay, I'm going to shake my head up and down, I'm going to shake my hands, and then I'm going to do a little clap, whatever it is. 3 different things. The whole purpose is to just bring you into the moment, into that moment of feeling into this experience, knowing that, 1, it's connected to a whole bunch of other ones. But 2, if we allow it to just be breathed through, so that even some of it can just be felt and passed, it takes down those notches of all of those other silos, let's say, of where it's been built up. And if you really want to make some change, you can practice the ABGs, right? Where you can just say, okay, this is coming up again. This feeling or this experience, which I've either identified or I'm just now identifying that I had this last week, or I had this last year, or this has been something that's going on for a long, long time. And then just taking that breath to be present, and then having that moment of gratitude to hear that this message is coming through yet again, and I'm getting yet another opportunity to feel into it, to give it some love, and let some of that pressure release. And that's how we can, in the moment, unsuppress some of these things. Granted, when there's a dumpster fire and there's chaos and things are all going at once, it may not be as easy to just go through this whole process. But if you take that moment to take that breath and calm yourself, even in just that moment, whatever's going on and whoever's there is going to see that too. They're going to see someone that could have just lost their shit hold it together, and then all of a sudden, instead of like everyone else start yelling at them and, you know, like screaming out orders and stuff, oh, they're actually doing something that I've never seen before. They're calming themselves. And then that's something that other people then learn by observing, especially kids, because they're constantly looking up to adults. They're constantly looking up to how am I supposed to handle this world? And if they're looking at it from their parents and that's what they're getting, their parents are yelling at them, well, then that's what they're going to do. Well, I'm just going to yell. But if they see someone that's taking a breath and calming themselves, well, maybe that's something they can try. So you're not only helping yourself, but you're helping whoever's around you, especially because then you've lowered whatever pressure cooker was going on and created a higher vibration to not be in whatever low disturbance that everyone's in that moment. And sometimes even just doing that, you can kind of get a perspective of, okay, I understand what's going on now. I feel like I could handle some of these things and maybe help compartmentalize the issues instead of the emotions, right?